Right. So if somebody wants to train for endurance, you will have them doing 15 plus reps. Okay. In terms of load is about 50 to 60. Let me put it underneath 50 to 60 or 1 rep max percentage. So lots of reps, very little weight, and you will give them short rests, 30, 40 seconds. Okay, and that trains for endurance. If you wanted to train for strength, you will ask the client to do maybe like between 1 and 6 reps. You'll be using about 90 to 100 of 1 rep max percentage. So the 1 rep max percentage is the maximum that the client can lift in one go. Okay, again, this is kind of a discussion for another time, but this is in your manuals. So 90 to 100% of 1 rep max. And you will give them a lot of rest because they're lifting really heavy. They can only do it 1-2 times, right? So you probably do it 240 seconds or 180 seconds, which is about 3 minutes. Okay, 3-4 minutes rest. So generally speaking, the heavier they lift, the less reps they do, and the more rest they need to take. This is why if you go in bodybuilding gyms, most of the times you see people walking around the machines because they do very heavy weights and then they have to take long rests to give their body a chance to recoup. Okay, so there you go. So endurance, 15 reps, 15 plus reps, 50 to 60, 1% max, 1 repetition max percentage, 40 seconds rest. Strength will be 1 to 6, 90 to 100, 1 rep max, 240 rest. Now, when you put it on your program card, make sure they make sense. Okay, so you need to choose one number for everything. So, for example, 2 reps, 90%, 1 rep max, 240 seconds. Okay, so don't use ranges 1 to 6. This is to say that you can choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, but you can't use the range. You have to tell the client exactly how many reps you want them to do, exactly what the percentage that you want them to do. Okay, so 90 to 100 is great, but is it 90? Is it 95, 96? You decide. You're the PT. Now, there's another one, which is hypertrophy or hypertrophy. And it sits right in the middle. Now, endurance if you want to have a client running a marathon. Strength if you want to have the explosive power, so like a power lifter. Hypertrophy is the general person who wants the best of both worlds. They want to look a bit toned up, and hypertrophy is when the muscle grows. So if somebody trains just because they want to look a little bit better, they want to look pretty, and they want to have big muscles, then hypertrophy is the best range for them to train at. So hypertrophy is usually 8 to 12 reps. And remember, you need to specify, is it 8, 9, 10, 12, or 11? You can't use the range. You will have 75 to 85 of 1 rep max percentage. Okay. And usually you give them a medium to short rest, so 90 seconds. So if I wanted to have somebody is training for hypertrophy on their biceps because they want big biceps, then I will say to them, okay, no worries. So give me 10 reps at 80%, 75% rather, 75% of 1 rep max. Yep. And take 90 seconds rest in between sets. You can add the sets, of course, you need to add the sets as well, but the sets could be 3 or 4, and they kind of increases the load. So if you have 3 sets, it would be easier than 4 sets. So the sets only increases the load as you're doing it, but it doesn't really make any difference on the rest. Then this was an example because the question was how do you justify the rests? So if you give somebody a very heavy exercise, okay, here you're working for strength and you give them 40 seconds rest, then of course the reply to that would be they don't have enough time to rest to do another set because the body needs to rest. You have the glucose coming back to the muscles, you have all the ATP that needs to be generated with creatine shuttling adenosine triphosphate to energy again. So you need extra rest. So for very heavy weight, longer rest, shorter reps. Does that answer your question, Janelle?
Yeah, it does. But also, you see with the seconds, if I wanted to take longer seconds, would that be a problem? For instance, like you see with the second one.
Yep.
Say if I take 90 seconds rest, but my body will not be able to perform the next 10 reps at the same weight because my body's still tired and it needs an extra, let's say, 90 seconds rest. But I know that after them extra 90 seconds, I'll be able to perform at that same level. Is it not easier and better for me just to take those extra seconds of rest?
Well, it's up to you. Every person is different. These are just kind of averages. So it's up to you as a PT to manipulate that. You can change it. Each client will be different. So you'll be having maybe 100 seconds for one person and 90 for the next. Or you might want to say to them, do you know what? Let's just do 9 reps. If you cannot do 10, just do 9. You're still working for hypertrophy.
Okay.
So these are all variables that you need to manipulate yourself. So you say, okay, if you cannot do it at this particular one, how can we make it a little bit easier? Well, decrease the reps, decrease the 1 rep max. So take some weight off, or increase the rest a little bit. So these are things that you can manipulate as a personal trainer, but just bear in mind that you don't want to end up to endurance or strength when the client wants hypertrophy. When you ask the client what would you like during the consultation, if they say they want to bulk up and look pretty and they want to have big muscles, then that's great, but make sure you don't end up with too much rest and little weight and little reps and lots of weight, because then now you're training for strength. So you can manipulate this slightly to your leisure according to the client performance.
Okay.